Hopefully everybody's had a great time already. I'm Tom Daniels, the sub-editor of Esports Insider, and we're going to be discussing everything gaming and esports peripherals. We're going to be discussing things such as the current peripherals market, marketing peripherals to an esports audience, and possible innovations within the space as well. But I'm not joined alone. It's not just going to be me talking for 45 minutes. I'm joined by two amazing brands and two amazing individuals. I'm joined by Maya and Shane. I'll let them introduce themselves because they're definitely going to be better at it than me. So let's start with you, Maya. Could you give us more about yourself and then also about EPOS as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me here today. I head up global marketing for consumer divisions at EPOS, and in the consumer segment, we focus on gaming and all gaming. EPOS is a high-end audio brand that comes out of a joint venture previously under Sennheiser. The joint venture was between Sennheiser and Demant, which is a global leader within the hearing aid industry. So they kind of found the experts in audio and an established brand. And then a couple of years back, we decided to go separate ways, and Demant said we are gonna go all into gaming and build on everything we launched with the what is now called EPOS Sennheiser peripheral portfolio. Here I am today, trying to see if we can make a high-end brand like EPOS and all the expertise we have in audio become something that adds value to the gamers around the world.
And Shane, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself as well, and also about HyperX.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I'm Shane. I head up social media and PR for HyperX across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. We've been going since 2002. We started off as a memory brand under our previous owners, Kingston Technology. However, during lockdown, we've now joined the HP family, which we're really excited about. We've developed the brand a lot more, and we're now focused on the peripheral side of the business. So we focus on headsets, as you can see, keyboards, mice, also streaming microphones, and other accessories as well.
Perfect. And I do want to say to everybody who's watching right now, if you do want to ask questions throughout this, I will be answering them at the end in a Q&A. I believe that there's a Slido link which will be coming in. So anything about the peripherals market, I definitely think that it'd be something interesting if we've not touched on it already anyway throughout this entire presentation. So let's start by actually discussing the current esports peripherals market in itself. Obviously, we've seen a lot of new and emerging competitors. Obviously, a lot of competitors or a lot of brands themselves also develop, gain a lot of investment, purchasing, merger, acquisition. This all happened in the peripheral space right now. So, Shane, starting with you, how do you kind of have a feel of what the current esports peripheral market is right now? Is it blossoming or is it just starting to begin?
I think it's definitely continuing to grow. I think from a peripherals market side of things, it's becoming, there's a lot more brands that we're seeing within the market as well. You know, we've been going since 2002, and you know, we've always known the likes of our competitors like Razer, Logitech, but you know, we've also seen EPOS coming into the market and other brands. So yeah, it's definitely growing. I definitely don't think it's peaked yet. Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how many more brands can fit into the esports peripherals market. It's all about differentiation, though.
And Maya, then, I think what's quite interesting, obviously, HyperX are a long-standing brand. EPOS, despite being in like the hearing technology kind of sector and having that expertise, relatively new within the esports sector as a whole. How has it been for you kind of going into this market? And is it kind of what you expected when you first came in?
Yeah, but it is a bit as what Shane said as well. You know, you have the OGs of the market, and then you have everyone else rushing to get in there. And I think that's any type of consumer good, not even peripherals. It's the Wild West, right? And I think what has really been the key for us is to look at what is it that we can add value to this market. You see a lot of consumer brands rushing in, and they're there just because there's a commercial opportunity. But if you don't know what it is that your purpose within the market and what you're going to add of value to the gamers out there, then I think it's going to fall short quickly. We've seen some examples of that. We are a funny hybrid because yes, we are new with EPOS, but we have been around with Sennheiser in gaming for 10 plus years. So in that sense, we have the luxury of building on a lot of knowledge and expertise. We have the same people who pushed those and built those products and understood the market and marketed has moved into now building on that with EPOS. So we are a bit of a funny hybrid. So I'd say that there wasn't a lot of surprises. I think it's more back to what has really been the journey since we launched EPOS was again getting to the core. If you say, okay, we're gonna stay in gaming. Dayman took that move and said, we believe that we created a foothold with what we did under Sennheiser. And we want to continue to take that portfolio under EPOS and build it. Well, then the journey has been a lot about, but what's the core of what it is that we are bringing? As Shane also mentioned, differentiation, right? And then also not falling into the trap of I'll jump into this just because it seems like there's a lot of money to gain. You fall short if you don't know what your purpose is, and that's what we've been really focused on getting right.
And I don't think you can. Sorry, just picking up on that point. Sorry, and I don't think you can within gaming just pick up something because as a business you think there's a lot of money to be made. What we love about gaming is that our audience is so vocal. So if something doesn't work, we know about it on our socials channels, and we're like so. Yeah, I think it's very much around differentiation, but also authenticity as well. Just to Maya's point.
And
yeah,
so
and I think the last
Maya
thing that sorry, that I quickly want to mention to that, the moderator told us before we started we could talk. Don't have to wait.
Absolutely fine.
You should never have said that to me.
Yeah, and
but
me
I
as
think
well.
a really interesting discussion for brands in the space by now, in which I see popping up more and more, is esports versus gaming, so to speak. Where do you play in those two fields, and how do they relate, and what are these more recent mainstream type of gamers also in the segment. So I think there's still a lot to be figured out from brands as well, so that you don't just think it's a one fits all and head in, as Shane said, oh yeah, easy, let me just pick up some they'll see through it, and there's a lot of nuances in the marketplace by now.
Maya, you've absolutely smashed it, to be fair. That's perfect. That is great, because that has actually answered the question in terms of like a little bit of how to kind of navigate this growing market. Shane, then, to kind of add on to that for you, given that HyperX has been a peripherals brand for so long, has there been any changes to how you've seen this market develop from a marketing standpoint in terms of what you've got to do to kind of push the HyperX brand and continually push it to become, one of the top peripheral brands, continuously alongside all these competitors as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of changes, and to Maya's point, I think it's a very key one as well to pick up on. Do you want to be part of esports, or do you want to be more of the general gaming market? HyperX itself, we started off from an esports. We started off in esports as an esports brand. We, started sponsoring events way back in 2006. And so our name was built within the esports industry. We invested a lot in local events and sponsored a lot of them, and also sponsored our first organizations in 2007 with SK Gaming, who I know is also taking part on ESI Digital. So yeah, we kind of built the name there, but we've also, as you can see from our portfolio, if anyone's been on the website, we have also grown, and we also, as a market, see that we've learned so much from the esports focus of building the peripherals for competitive gamers, that we've also noticed that actually there is a market for the general gamers. So we also target some of our products to the consoles. We have some licensed headsets with PlayStation and Xbox. We also have some Switch products. So we've grown with the industry, and we've definitely seen a diversification of our focus within HyperX. I mean, our Cloud 2 headset back in the day was always on a Esports Pro's head at the very beginning. So I think that again is, to Maya's point, picking up on that, just definitely expanding.
Yeah, I think
That
it's very
answered the
interesting. I
question.
think perfect. I think you're right. I think it's also about kind of adapting as well. And I think you've also brought up a little bit in the past about, making sure that trends are being kept. What are kind of your audience, what do they want from a peripheral as well, and kind of designing that around that. And I think working within the esports industry as well probably does gain a good substantial kind of proportion of what the casual user also wants from their products as well. And I guess that goes for both for EPOS and for HyperX. What I really want to actually discuss, and I think it's a lot of it's kind of a growing topic of the different models and the different business type models that we're starting to see from the peripheral sector. So obviously you've got the likes of HyperX, who kind of arrange from a range of different peripherals, as you detailed before, Shane, and then you've got you and yourselves, Maya, where it's kind of audio based. Do you think that there is kind of a possibility for both of these kind of business models to thrive within the esports industry? And do you think that actually having these two different types of models is beneficial to the peripherals industry as a whole? And I'll start with you, Maya, and then if you want to follow on after that, Shane, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that's, I think you can make both business strategies work. But I think you got to be quite clear on why you're choosing one over the other, which is kind of a given. But our expertise, we are really experts in audio, and we have some exceptional technologies and understanding of that to bring into that space. So we are very clear on, let's start with that. Again, back to, that's where we can really add value. If we started right now saying, well, let's also do 10 other things, then we would kind of diffuse what it is we want to bring to the community and to the marketplace. And it's important to us that we can really back what we're doing, and that we can demonstrate the value of that. So I think but it's also, it's a little bit of a daring move, right? Because you have to tell yourself, it is easy to say, well, let's jump into have the full peripheral offering. You see lots of brands having that, and for good reasons, but and as a new brand, so to speak, it is very tempting to do that. But I think that's also the bold decisions you have to take if you want to succeed in such a competitive marketplaces at times. Know what it is that you want to first and foremost stand for, and then build it in the right steps. So I'm not saying we'll never do it, but I think it's down to being a little bit bold, and again, not being tempted of just jumping into, well, this is what everyone else does, or this is what just seems like the quick solution, because you got to build this long term, right? It's you got to look ahead in this highly competitive industry to see, how do I get a foothold in the long term, because it is a battle between so many brands and brands and price ranges and types of offerings. And one thing is all the established or bigger brands, but you also have all these really lower cost brands coming out. It's a jungle out there, right? So you got to dare a bit on making your decisions on what you what is your plan here, and then go for that first, and then build from there.
Yeah, I concur with that, with what you said. I mean, we were just one headset at the beginning, but we've been on a long journey of exploration here at HyperX. We don't venture into something just for the sake of it. We've done partnerships to explore different things. So, we've done some partnerships with Ducky Keyboard when we did the small frame keyboards. We launched that to a great success. We learned a lot from that, and then we decided to go on and build our own 60% keyboard. So yeah, I definitely think it's not something we will jump into. We do have a lot of research. It's not that we're just launching products for the sake of the market. One thing that we're very passionate about at HyperX is listening to the community as well. So yeah, I mean, the USP for our headsets when we were starting was the comfort and memory foam within the ear cups and on the headbands. And so we've seen I believe we were one of the first, and we've seen a lot of now headsets following that suit, because previously it was just focused on audio, on the audio quality, but we wanted to, bring in comfort as well as audio quality to try and give people the competitive edge within esports. So yeah, then that's when we slowly started to launch the keyboards and kind of look at the switches that we would use. Obviously, we were going with the Cherry MX switches, but now we've got our own HyperX switches. We also launched the mice, and we've just grown the portfolio. And that's all been just, really speaking with and listening to the community, that either it being through our social medias or actually having focus groups. So yeah, that's kind of how we've kind of followed our kind of journey with HyperX to this huge portfolio of products that we have today.
That's great. And I think while I said that I'd do Q&As at the end, we did actually just get a question here, which I think kind of sums up everything about the peripherals market and kind of about the esports journey as a whole. So I'll start with you, Shane. And they haven't said the name, but it's like, what was the difficult part of breaking into the esports sector and how did you overcome it? And then we'll go with Maya as well. So what do you think was quite difficult for yourself, but also for HyperX in kind of breaking into that esports sector?
Well, our kind of history, again, we broke into it through our memory. So we were, not only we were making sure that gamers were able to use ultra fast memory, which was, HyperX, in order to play to the best of their ability. I think a lot of people did think that we were a bit crazy when we said we were going to start announcing that we had a headset in the pipeline and we were going to start selling that to market. But I think it again is, we were very fortunate in the fact that we were being authentic with how we were breaking into esports, and when we were becoming part of it. I mean, esports has been going on for a very long time, and it was kind of like a subculture, I guess, back in the day, but it's now come more to the forefront of consumers' minds. People are aware that there's these tournaments of, tens of thousands of people, tens of millions of people tuning in online now. So as the esports industry has grown, we've been very fortunate that HyperX has grown with it. So I think, we see ourselves as very much an endemic brand to esports, because we have grown with it. So we've been very fortunate with that. I think we saw that there was a lot of potential, and we saw that esports was going to be a huge thing in the future, and we wanted to help support that grow. To get me at the beginning, I think.
Yeah, and Maya, for you, so how was it then for EPOS to kind of break into that esports market, and what was like the initial push in terms of like a marketing standpoint that you decided to do to kind of really cement yourself straight away as an esports audio peripherals brand?
There's kind of there's two tracks in it for us. So one is partnering with esports properties and organizations. Just gives you, of course, the traditional brand exposure, and as a new brand, it kind of told the story immediately that when we turned from EPOS Sennheiser to EPOS, the story we really want people to be aware of is this is our full dedication to really being in gaming, and it was important for us to then continue to be present as we were on the Sennheiser with our brand, with esports partners. So of course, when you're a new brand and you want to get that out there and get people to take notice and hopefully get interested to check us out further, it's some good platforms we have there. That's the traditional media route. The other thing that really is where we enjoy so much working within the esports sphere, is how can we work with our partners and properties to combine, again, our expertise in audio and passion for gaming with their expertise in gaming and often passion within audio, so that we together can tell some great stories about this, where really the story about audio and gaming comes first, and then the brands follow, so to speak. But that's been where kind of the angle we've taken into it, and looking for partners who can help us do that, because that's the story we want to work around, coming out with this new brand.
And Shane, to kind of in order to market yourself to an esports audience, is it important to continually create partnerships with esports entities, whether that's be tournament organizers or teams as well? And is it important to kind of keep those relationships going in order to keep yourselves at the kind of the front of mind, of esports fans?
I think definitely. We've over the years we've partnered with many event organisers like ESL, with their also Intel with their Extreme Masters. Most recently, we've got the Valorant global tournaments that we're sponsors of. So it's very very important, and I think, but we also need to make sure at HyperX that we are partnering with the right organisations. So, for example, we don't partner with betting companies at the moment, so that's just not something that we're looking to venture into. We also looked at partners that align to our morals, so we're very much about the good in gaming and how amazing this industry is at coming together and supporting projects and charities. Like one of the charities that supported is Special Effects, that we've worked with quite closely over the years. So yeah, it's very much, yes, it's great to partner, but from our standpoint, it has to be the right partnership. I think there's just a lot of organizations and esports teams now, and so you just need to pick the right ones that kind of will support the message of your brand, so that there's alignment there.
Yeah, definitely. And then Maya, to kind of add on to that in terms of like what are you guys kind of looking for in terms of a partner? Is it I'm guessing it's, as like everyone would say, it's not just the name value of the organization or the entity that you're partnering up with, but it's to do with kind of what more you could do together to interact with fans as well, I guess, is a big part.
Yeah, and I think for us, it's about someone who is willing to go with us on the journey that we're on, and the direction we really want to dive into around audio, but who are also on a journey in the terms of, as Shane said, it's the market is growing. It's a bit of a crazy Wild West market. If this was an investment market going into esports, you'll be like, no, don't wait, because things changes all the time, right? I've been in traditional sports for long, and suddenly I come into this space where we see something that developed over decades just happens within a year in this business, right? So it's also about the partners who are interested in exploring and growing together with us, and also challenging a bit how we traditionally done things, in challenging us on how we want to go to market, and how we want to tell our story with their input and expertise. And then I think, to Shane's point, yes, any partner today you partner with, be it in esports or other areas of your business, hopefully more and more will do that, and not just talk about it, but do it as we see Shane and HyperX do. But you got to think about the ethics and kind of that whole space on how do we also contribute in a broader sense to making just this a better place to be for all of us, right?
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I said that we'd get a lot of questions, and already we've got a question which kind of relates to the next kind of topic that I wanted to kind of touch on in terms of marketing itself, and it's retaining brand value. So Shane, this was kind of directed to you a little bit, but also I'd love to see Maya's take on this. But first with you, Shane, with such a wide range of sponsorships that HyperX kind of has, how do you make sure that the value of each partnership is still maintained and they're not diluted?
Do you mean relationship-wise or?
In terms of like the offerings which are kind of given out to fans, I think this person's trying to say essentially that if there's like a lot of partnerships, how is it important? Is it important really to keep them differentiating from each other instead of being like a similar partnership for each one?
Yeah, I think, the amount of proposals Maya and I probably receive, and it's always, it's generally, well, you've got the gold, silver, and bronze package, and then you can either be exclusive partner or you can, et cetera, et cetera. So it needs to be all of the kind of partnerships that we do. We look at it from a business perspective. We want to obviously get in front of the right audience. HyperX, very much as a brand, has grown up within the CS:GO tournaments back in the day. So, I mean, it's one of the longest running esports communities. So, we looked at that. That's why we kind of moved with Riot on the Valorant sponsorship. So it's not, you definitely have to, it could be easy. And I know that HyperX, to his point, do a lot of sponsorship, but yeah, and you've got to remember we are a global company. But for example, we also are very much around representation as well. So we have sponsored the Valorant Game Changers in EMEA, which is puts the focus on women in esports, which is something that is a big topic in esports, about representation of women. So it's not around, all of our partnerships have to be evaluated on its offering to us as a brand, and to make sure that there's a mutual benefit between the partnerships and what we're trying to achieve with HyperX with its brand.
As well, and to add on to that as well, I think that actually, in terms of like partnerships themselves, while the partnership in itself may just, you look at it and think, oh, it's providing peripherals and it's also like a logo placement. Actually, a lot of the work between the two entities is also in play as well, and so each kind of partnering with a Cloud9 to another organization will be different, just because the ethos of that organization itself as well. And I think that is a lot in terms of keeping brand value. As you probably know, Maya, for yourself, I'd like to detail a little bit of that as well. I'm guessing that the Blast partnership that you had is different than partnering with an esports organization as well. Could you kind of detail the differences between the two there?
Yeah, I think it's different how we use them in our marketing, because they give us different opportunities. And you'll see that for some activities we'll put one type of partnership in play, and for others we'll put other in play. Then of course there's a difference in how long the organization has been around, how established the brand is, and all of that, as with anything. I think what's really key for us, and I always like to challenge this a bit, is that let's be honest, sponsorships, be they esport or traditional sport, is a marketing play. That's why companies do it. But they give you a different avenue than what we call traditional marketing. But at the same time, sponsorships has been around for long. They are traditional marketing today. I always hear this. Oh, it's not traditional marketing. Yes, it is. But you have an opportunity when you work with another organization, and then it's depending on what that organization is. It a tournament? Is it a team? Is it with individuals and the players? Is it with more of an organization and the hype around being part of a tournament? You have that opportunity to here. You actually have a partner where you can see common objectives and foothold, and then together see, when we combine what we want to bring to the gamer or the end user of your respective products, how can we make that more when we come together than when we are apart? And that's what's so exciting about partnerships. And and it's slightly different, right? The end user has a different affiliation with teams where they are very hooked maybe with the individual players or the overall brand of the team, as opposed to a tournament where it's about that that entertainment value you get in watching and joining a tournament and cheering for your team, right? So that's kind of the differentiation, but in the end it's about what you get together and where do you find common footholds so that together you add more value than apart with your partners.
I think it's also from my side just important to highlight as well, you know, with HyperX, a lot of people know that we are an audio brand. We have a lot of headsets, but with our sponsorships of tournaments and also with our esports sponsorships of organizations, you know, we will do the marketing play and we'll say, right, we need to build more awareness around our keyboards and our mice. So how do we do that? And so that's when we'll look for partnerships, we'll look at proposals, and we'll say, right, this tournament, perfect, let's enter it. You know, we've got, but again, it's all about longevity, the authenticity of that partnership. I mean, we've worked with Cloud9 for 10 years now. It's our longest standing esports alongside Team Liquid. So yeah, and a lot of the esports tournaments we've worked with for a very long time as well. So definitely being particular, but it's also about what you're trying to achieve as a business when you introduce new products potentially, or you need more awareness around something. So you need to be, tactical.
I mean, it's Mercedes-Benz don't have an F1 team because they only sell to Mercedes-Benz F1 drivers, right? They have it because they demonstrate that they are experts at what they deliver in their products. So of course, to your point, Shane, you're looking for where do you have a nice fit in demonstrating what your products delivers, right?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I do want to, yes, exactly. I do want to move on to, because we've got 15 minutes left. I do want to move on to kind of innovations in peripherals and this kind of exciting, like growing topic around competitive advantages, which are now being slightly gained through peripherals, akin to the like of a footballer maybe wearing specific boots or a golfer having a specific type of club. Are we getting to that point in peripherals where it has, because the innovation is getting so much that we have to be very specific in terms of certain players want certain peripherals, and is that quite exciting that now we're kind of going into what is considered like expert peripheral sectors right now instead of just being a consumer focused brand? We'll start with you, Maya, considering it's very much on like the audio brand, and then Shane, I'd love to hear your input on this as well.
Yeah, I've you know, from a pure personal perspective, and again, having been in what we like to call traditional sport, I would love to see that happen. I've worked with a lot of different types of athletes, and it was not until I got into gaming that you know, if you tell whether it's a soccer player or a professional high world-class skier, you know what, today I'm just going to throw you these random pair of boots. You're not going to use the ones you normally play in. Oh man, they would kill you, right? Like you would never accept that. So I would love to see that we were able to deliver that to the esports scene, because I think that would be a testimony also to really continue to grow this and accelerate it into this is the professional level it is at. Right. So from a pure personal perspective, I would love to see that, and I think it should. I think it would be the obvious next step. From a business perspective, I think what's really key here is that you look at this exactly as that opportunity to demonstrate your skills and add to that space, because you know you could do a really custom made for esport competitive gaming, but maybe it wouldn't be the headset you could also sell to thousands of end users due to maybe the complexity or the price point you would net out at and so on. So from a business perspective, I think there's an exciting opportunity in being part of developing the peripheral to that level for the professional athletes, and then build the commercial opportunity out of that.
And Shane, to kind of add on to that as well, I think for HyperX in particular, I think what is kind of like HyperX's kind of ambition on kind of these like expert only, or is it kind of a thing where it is good just to have a consumer focused market and to use that as well? I feel like there is like a slight, we're seeing it with different business models, but we're also seeing it in terms of like what these products are kind of attaching to as well. Like, which do you feel like is, where HyperX is continually going? Is it sticking to, consumable, great products which come through instead of that, extreme high expert one player, peripheral market?
I think to the point, I think, it's as HyperX is expanding, and obviously we are focusing on the consumer, we'll always have a foot in the door with esports. It's our home basically. So we will always, we always work with our teams, and we send all of our esports teams our products before they even hit market, and they give us feedback on it. I think, back in previously when we brought out the Cloud 2, putting memory foam into a headset was kind of wow, okay, so it's really comfortable. I've never had a headset like this before that's focused on not hurting my ears, and I can fit it over my glasses because it molds to the shape of my face and stuff like that. So I think we will always have a foot in the door, and we will always support the esports community. I think another thing that's quite interesting as well is that we're seeing a lot of universities and a lot of colleges starting to create esports focused courses because people are sitting at home and they're like, I want to be that YouTuber that I've just seen on, or I want to be that kid that just bought home $1.5 million to his bought a house for his mum. So it's kind of we will always have that kind of passion to kind of give people the materials they need in order to basically play the best game. I think, if we looked at traditional sports, and to Maya's point, if we gave someone a new pair of boots though and said go and play the finals in these boots, they would get a bit worried. So I think some of it's kind of like, what is it, whether it's good luck or not. So as much as we want to create the best peripherals, and we truly believe that we do, there's also the luck element. We don't want to take away from the esports teams that they are actually, top players and stuff.
And Shane, to kind of add on to that then, which is really interesting, do you think that then it's all about kind of identifying that your brand identity? So I think a lot of people probably look at peripherals and, without kind of like from the outside looking in, kind of just see equipment. But actually, when you're developing a brand and developing kind of a top tier brand, it is all about, okay, well, what is our identity and what sets us apart? And that's why, you've got your HyperX, you've got your EPOSs, you've got your other peripheral firms as well. Is that why it's so important to identify a brand for yourself?
Absolutely. And that's something that I think, breaking through the market with, and there is so much noise now around the peripherals market because there's so many players. What we're trying to do, it's been no secret that HyperX wants to be the #1 gaming brand for peripherals. So whether you're playing on your PlayStation, whatever platform you're playing on, we want people to think HyperX, as you would if you think fashion, you think maybe Louis Vuitton or something like that. So it's really important, and we live and breathe HyperX here at HP. So it's very important to remember how to communicate your brand as well. So, social media is extremely important to us because that's where we get to talk to our community, and that's where they are. And, whether they're on Twitch or if they're, hanging out on Discord, or if they're, having a conversation on Twitter, you need to really know where your audience is talking so you can reach them and engage with them. It's extremely important to know your brand inside and out, in my opinion.
Brilliant. So I think we're going to come to some questions now, and there has been quite a lot. I was saying this beforehand. I said that a lot of people love to talk about peripherals, so I'm so glad to get so many questions. I even had to integrate some throughout as well. So we'll start with the big one, I think, really, and we'll start with you, Maya. What do you think, and this is anonymous, unfortunately, but what do you think the future of esports peripherals looks like? It's a big question, but I want to see what your take is on that.
Oh man, you should have one of my product managers in here. They would talk for the next hour. You know what? I've got to keep it quite simple. We see that scene getting continue to evolve as a truly professional sports. I like to say the pinnacle between sports and entertainment, and that's the future.
Mm-hmm.
That's what all the traditional sports are battling. So the professional levels will increase. You know, the level of what it means to be a professional player will get higher and higher because it has evolved over the last many years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so will the requirements to equipment for sure. So I think that as the scene develops and really battles as it already does today, right? Some of the biggest other sports tournaments or entertainment formats out there, and the players and teams get to the next level and the next level of a truly professional commercial sport as well. You'll see that the peripheral scene will have to follow. There'll be updated requirements.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think of esports peripherals is like? Maybe from like from a marketing standpoint or from an industry standpoint as well, could be quite interesting.
Well, I think there's just going to be more and more. The developers are constantly creating games that are targeted towards the new esports. I mean, Riot's created Valorant, for example, that came out last year in lockdown. So I think, yeah, it's dependent on not only the games that are going to become available, but also we haven't seen a huge VR tournament yet. Maybe that's something that will come up. I think as we have to remember that esports and our own industry is based on the developments that technology is affording us. So I can only imagine that there's going to be new esports potentially coming around as the technology improves. Yeah.
Another one which is quite interesting as well, which has come in, is and I'll lead with you, Shane, if that's okay. What are the differences of kind of value generated from a streamer and a gaming partnership towards an esports organization partnership?
An esports tournament organizer will obviously give you value in the sense that you'll get a huge amount of eyes looking at your brand, so it'll give you a massive exposure. I think you have to be quite clever in marketing of how you can convert those eyes into engagements with your brand. And with regards to a streamer, one thing we're very particular with the streamers that we work with is because we want them to bring the personality and align our personality with the brand's personality, with the streamer's personality. So not only, yes, some of the streamers have a lot of will bring eyes to it, but it's also they're quite good at with the informing their audience with the headsets that they're using, why they've chosen to partner with us. And there's a lot of influencers out there that won't partner with brands because they just don't believe in them. So it's great when you do get to see the partnership because they're like they believe in HyperX as well. Hence why we have the hashtag HyperX family. So there's a big difference. If you want to go for volume, in my opinion, you'd go with tournaments. But if you want, and then the influencer side of the marketing funnel will enable you to communicate messaging to particular audiences and have great ambassadors as well endorsing the product.
And then as a final question before, unfortunately, and there's so many other questions as well, so I'm so glad to have got all these questions. But this one's from Kerry, and it's target towards you, Maya. What considerations go into launching new products that range from specifically to an esports fan as opposed to a gamer? What are kind of like the differences when you think about going into a product launch for that?
I think we always start with, the core is we are the experts in audio. We have an expertise there that few to no other can match, and that's the core story on our entire portfolio. But when you then look at the portfolio, then each product has slightly different use cases, and it's that considering how does it fit into your existing portfolio. What is it's very, and it's a little bit of a sorry to say disease in our industry, that we wanted to communicate everything in one go every time we talk about products, but it's about owning the one story on the product and being clear on that and how it fits into the wider portfolio. And that's not to say that the product couldn't be relevant for all types of gamers, but if all the products are that, it's not a broad portfolio where you give certain expertise in certain use cases and for certain types of gaming specifically with each product. So we very much try to look at that holistically and then drill down into, and then this specific product, is it for the gamer who's venturing into the more high-end space of gaming headset brands for the first time, and who wants plug and play ease, or is it for the gamer who wants really the best PC headset out there, and the complexity of all the adjustments you can do, and owning your ecosystem through adding the various other supporting products we have in our amplifiers and so on. So it's about daring to own the story on each individual product, but also remembering to see it in a holistic view, so that it's easy to understand what is it this exact product will give for me.
And that is absolutely perfect. So I think that we're just about to wrap up now. So Maya, Shane, thanks a lot for talking, to us about peripherals. I said that we'd love it, and I thank you everybody who's watched. Thank you for all the questions. I've really enjoyed it. We could have gone for probably twice the amount, but if I'm pretty sure that if you ever want to talk about peripherals of the industry as a whole, then you can definitely contact me, or more probably better contact Maya and contact Shane, because I'm guessing they'll be more than happy to talk about this. But thank you everybody for tuning in to this panel. Hopefully everybody enjoys the rest of ESI Digital Winter, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.